MrBeast awoke, looked at his clock, and immediately panicked. He got dressed, grabbed his wallet, and then ran outside to start his journey up the mountain. First, he had to survive the forbidden forest. Many a night he had heard tall tales about its inhabitants, so he wanted to minimize his time there not to test their validity. Suddenly, he tripped and fell face first in some mud. While he lay there, he heard some noises coming from behind a nearby bush. His heart raced and he contemplated whether he even wanted to get up. Finally, he mustered the courage to lift his face out of the mud as the sound neared. However, he was too scared to run, and so he accepted his fate. That's when a rabbit popped out with a sign around his neck saying, "Return from whence ye came." Initially, he was a little confused, but eventually he just got up, waved goodbye to the rabbit, and proceeded on his journey. Next up was a steep, open, rocky, terrain-like field. The going was tough and he made little progress. Finally, he saw smoother ground off in the distance. As he neared the new land, he saw something guarding the path. The closer he got, the more terrifying the creature became. It was a furry, four-legged beast with horns emerging from his head and maybe even a goatee. He had almost turned back, but he had already overcome so much that he decided to press on. When he got close enough, he realized that the animal was just a goat. Around his neck read a sign, "Cursed be whosoever continues on this path." Again, he was taken aback, but he simply walked past the goat and continued on to his goal. Next, he encountered a skinny, rickety, and old bridge with sharp rocks far underneath it. He tightly clenched the old rope and took his first step. As he walked across, each plank creaked so hard that he swore it was going to break. In fact, one nearly did, and he sighed as he got one foot off of it. Then it broke. He clamped onto the old rope for dear life. Thankfully it held and he pressed on. As he approached the end, he noticed a bird sitting on one of the bridge's posts. When he got closer, he realized that it was staring at him. Thinking nothing of it, he progressed. Then he saw that every time he stepped, the bird would poke the rope, and that every time he stayed still, it would stare at him. He stopped and thought for a little while about his options and soon determined that he should sprint to the end. The bird began furiously pecking the rope and some planks started breaking behind him. At the last couple of boards, he jumped to the other side. He got up, dusted himself off, and then realized that the bird was wearing a sign that said, "Turn around." He thanked the bird for the simplicity, but carried on nonetheless. Suddenly, a thunderstorm bared down on him. He got pelted with heavy rain and lightning cracked around him. He tried to follow the path the best he could until he finally reached a hole in a giant rock wall. He squeezed in and started wriggling through. As the cave widened a little bit, he was able to crawl on his hands and knees. Then, he heard something coming from the other direction. He tried to find a hiding spot, but he couldn't, so he just kept pressing forward, accepting his fate. Then, a fox emerged from the other side. Around its neck was a sign, "Go back, please." He thanked the fox, but continued on anyway. Finally, he emerged from the cave and looked up. His destination was getting closer. He started walking again when he saw a mountain lion approaching him. Around his neck read a sign that said, "Too late." He froze and cursed himself for not turning around earlier. The mountain lion kept approaching him until finally, it stopped and looked at him. Then it sniffed his pockets and hands before walking away. He fell to his knees and started kissing the ground before beginning the final part of his journey by walking on thin ledges without guardrails. He almost slipped a couple times, and it didn't help that the wind was blowing hard. By now, he was surprised that the wind wasn't wearing a sign. Finally, he reached the other side and started ascending the old stairs. At the top, he saw a big glass building with an open roof. He approached the door, but it was locked. Then, someone emerged from inside and pointed to a sign that said the animal shelter's ours. He became disappointed and started heading back down the mountain. Meanwhile, inside. "Hey, why didn't you let that guy in? We have extended hours today, right?"
Yeah, but that's the guy who keeps making the animals sick by giving them $10,000.
Ah, okay.
Yeah, I put a bunch of signs on animals hoping that would deter him. Guess not.
Yeah, I guess not.